This is Gemara Rosh HaShanah Daf Chaf Beis. All the learning for this week, the final week of the month of Cheshvan, has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf, Rav Eli Zecher Nishmas, his father, Rav Moshe ben Ruchaim Alevi. The learning of the entire Chabura as we conclude the first parak of Rosh HaShanah tonight should be a tremendous chos l'nishmasa, as well as the Torah learned should be a choshidach b'yisochaim the Virgin Mary Bas Yitzchak Giddush and Ezra Shana Makal Mordechai ben Davashendel as a good about Davashendel as well as for Shem Shal Yisben and your fader Ben Sechlinyam Ben Simon Zalta Many Beveg Chaim Bezal Shem Zun Reitz Azar Bas Knendel Ita Basim as Chaysa Yisam the Red Relay Sham Nomi Veshavig Shekhan Shmal Until Din Chamizel Melchai Bas Min Adin Beshin Windel Svig Ben Figure Ver Mechleson as the Lure because Shem Sim Mechlester Besoy Shar Chayli Yisrael. We pick it up on the very top of Adaf Chaf Beis and we begin with a quote from the Mishnah of a story. Ma'aseh Shavar Yosim Arba'im Zog Ve'ikvam Rav Akiva. More than 40 pairs of Edom came, and Rav Akiva, as they went through Lud, stopped them and said, "What are you doing? There's no reason. So many Edom already went to Mekadesh, the new moon, and therefore you don't have to go." And the Mishnah concluded that Rav Gamliel said, "Rav Akiva, you can't do that. If you deter them today, what's going to happen next time? Next time they're going to see the new moon. They're going to say, nah, why do I need to go? Someone else already came." So Rav Gamliel was nervous for the future and said, "Out machshidon nasil lavai." Says the Gemara, Tanya Rav Yehuda, Chas v'shalayim Rav Akiva ikvam. Says Rav Yehuda, you think Rav Akiva would do such a thing? Chas v'shalayim, that's impossible. It can't be. It was Rav Akiva. Interesting. A lot of the Rishonim deal with Chas v'shalayim, very strong language. Ella says the Gemara, it wasn't Rav Akiva. Rather, Shazefer, the person's name was Shazefer, who was Rosh Shel Geder, who was the official head, the head of this place called Geder, who Ikvan stopped them. V'shalach Rav Gamliel v'aridu megadlusai, and Rav Gamliel sent and took her down from her post. And the same story, just not with Rav Akiva. Says the Mishnah, continuing the halachas as we conclude this parak of being Mekadesh the new month. Av u'benai sharo as a chodesh yalchu. If a father and son see the new moon, they see, and they want to go testify, they're allowed to go. They're allowed to go. 1 second. We all know father and son are relatives, and relatives can't be eaten together. Says the Mishnah, not because they become one group, not because they're going to walk into Bezdin and testify together. No. Ella, so why do they both go? Let's say they get to Bezdin, and let's say one of them becomes Basel, the other one could join up with someone else. We want extra Eidim just in case. So it's true, the two of them will not become one group, but they still should go because they could be of help. That's the first opinion of the Tanakama. Rav Shimon Aimer, he argues and he says, Avu benoi, v'chol karoivim, father and son are all relatives, kashem leidus chaydesh, they are kosher, they're allowed to give testimony about the new moon. Amar Rav Yosi, Maisa b'tovya roifei, there's a story with Tovia Raifei Shara Zachayish B'Yishlayim. He saw the new moon in Yerushalayim. Who Ubenai? He saw it with his son. V'Av Daim Shocher, and he also saw it with his free slave. So 3 people: Tovia the doctor, his son, and a slave. Sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. The Kiblu HaKohanim Ma'isai Vesbenai. The Kohanim accepted he and his son to be Eidim together, seemingly like the opinion of whom? Rabbi Yeshimon, that said father and son can testify together. Upas Zavdo, instead a servant, a freed slave, even though he's free right now, he's status of a Jew, he has no yichus, he has no lineage because he was a slave, he cannot be a witness. However, that was the Kehanim. Ukshabol, if they Bezdin, they came from the Bezdin, Agadol in Yerushalayim, Kiblu Aisayves Av, the opposite. They accepted he and his slave, Upasu as Benai, and they did not accept the son. So we have 3 basic opinions in the Mishnah. What is the status for a father testifying with his son? Tanakama says no way, but you should go anyways. Rav Shimon says, yes way, it's no problem. And Rav Yosi brings down the story that we had a discrepancy between the Bezdin of Kohanim and the Bezdin of Yerushalayim, whether we went with the opinion of Rav Shimon and we accepted the doctor and his son, or whether we went with the opinion of the Tanakama and we accepted the doctor and the slave. So really, I should say better, there's 2 opinions whether the father could testify with his son, Tanakama and Rav Shimon, and within there we throw in the din of a slave, which we'll see about right now. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Levi, my time with Rav Shimon. Where does Rav Shimon get this din? We all know that in all Eidos, father and son cannot testify together. Why all of a sudden here are they allowed to? Says the Gemara D'chsiv. Rav Shimon learned it out from the pasuk. It says, "V'yemer Hashem al Moshe vel Aaron be'eretz Mitzrayim." Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron in Egypt, "Leimar," saying, "Ha'chodesh hazeh lochem." This was the original commandment of being testifying of creating the new moon, new month. And for the fact that the pasuk said that God said to Moses and Aaron, Moshe and Aaron, which of course were brothers, showing us, says Rav Shimon, the Eidos is kosher with HaKodesh Hazeh Lochem. It's for you, for Moshe and Aaron. We see brothers could be Eidim together. For Rabbanan, the Tanakhama, they disagree. What do they say? Musarim Lochem. The Chachamim disagree and say no, that it's under your jurisdiction. You're in charge, just like the Bezdin is in charge. But no, it does not mean that brothers can testify together. And that is the first two opinions in the Mishnah, whether brothers can testify together to sanctify the new month. Says the Gemara, continuing about 12 lines down, first word on the line is Amar Rav. Amar Rav Yaisi Maisa B'Tavia Raifa V'Chulus. We had this story, Tavia the doctor and his son and his save saw the new moon, and we had a discrepancy. The Bezdin Yerushalayim accepted him and his son, the Bezdin of Kehanim accepted him and his son, the Bezdin Yerushalayim accepted him and his Avid. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav Helchasa Rav Shimon. We paskin like Rav Shimon that a father and son duo are allowed to give Eidos together. Amar Le Rav Huna Rav Chanan bar Rav Yaisi Umaisa V'ata Amar Zelchas like Rav Shimon. What's going on? We had a whole story with Rav Yaisi, and yet which shows what? Excuse me. Let's say this properly. One more time. Rav Yaisi, the Mishnah quoted Rav Yaisi, who doesn't go with Rav Shimon, and it shows a story proving that point from the fact that the Bezdin Yerushalayim did not accept father and son. So how in the world can you tell me halachas like Rav Shimon? We see clearly Rav Yaisi disagrees, and he has a story. We always know Ma'aseh Shaya. It's incredible. So how can you tell me we're going with Rav Shimon? Amar later, Chanan bar Rav replies, "Well, Zindim Zagin Amri Kamei Derav." Holds like Rav Shimon. V'Lamar B'Li V'Lei Midi. Many times I said to Rav, the halacha is like Rav Shimon, and he never argued. He never said, no, you're wrong. Rav Yaisi disagrees. The story that disagrees. Why not? The fact that Rav never corrected me shows me he must agree that halacha is like Rav Shimon. Amar lei, hey chitanita. What Mishnah did you say in front of Rav? Let's be careful. What exactly did you say over? Always have to be careful how we tell over stories. What did you say over to Rav? How did you say the machlekes plays out between Rav Shimon and Rav Yaisi? Amar lei. He said, Ibcha. I said it the other way around. I said that relatives, Krivim, are allowed to testify together, and not like Rav Shimon. Amar lei, very good. That's why he didn't respond. Meaning, what did you tell Rav? You didn't tell Rav we're going with Rav Shimon. You told Rav we're going with Rav Yaisi. The way that you said over, you mixed up the names. The way that you said it over, you were saying that they cannot testify together, not like Rav Shimon, and that's why he didn't argue. So we're coming out that we're not going with Rav Shimon, we're going with Rav Yaisi. Brothers cannot testify together. Amar Tavi, Amar Tavi, Bereid Amar Tavi, Amar Mar Ukva, Amar Shmuel, Helchasa, Rav Shimon. Even though we seemingly just had a proof like Rav Yaisi, the Gemara concludes no. The Gemara concludes that we're going with the opinion. We're going with Rav Shimon. Now, the interesting point is, the Gemara seems to have just taken a left turn. We kept improving Hilchos Rav Yaisi, now we're saying Hilchos Rav Shimon. So you see this little base on the side, that little base points out that it's not so simple what we just said. There are different Gersayas, I can't find it in this Gemara right now, but some of you I'm sure could find in your side of Gemara, that there are different Gersayas that learn not Hilchos Rav Shimon, but Le'in Hilchos Rav Shimon, that we do not paskin like Rav Shimon. But that is part number one of today's shiur. What is the status of father and son testifying about the new moon? And seemingly we're paskening not like Rav Shimon, rather Rav Yaisi, that they cannot testify together. And the pasuk that said that Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron, "Achodesh Hazeh Lochem," was not teaching me that Moshe and Aaron could be Eidim together. Rather, it just meant that this din is given over to Moshe and Aaron like the Bezdin. Says the Mishnah, towards the bottom of Chafezim and Aleph, Elu ein absulim. The following ones are possible for Eidos. It's possible for Eidos, and of course, what in our conversation that means possible for giving Eidos about the new moon. A bit of a famous Mishnah: Hamesachik b'kovya, someone who plays with dice, a gambler. Umalvei ribis, someone who lends with interest. Umafriche yavanim, yoinim, someone who races with doves, a different type of gambler. B'sayich shviyas, a very relevant topic nowadays. Someone who, God forbid, a merchant who's selling shviyas. Va'avadim, and servants. Zaklal, call Eidoshena Isha Kesheirala, Afein Kesheirala. Any testimony which a woman cannot give, these two these people as well cannot give. So this whole list is going to have the same status, that just like a woman can't come in and give testimony about the new moon, so too someone who lends with ribbis, etc., cannot give such testimony. Says the Gemara, what's the obvious implication of the Mishnah? Ha-isha kisheirala, afin kisheirala. Sounds like, what about everything else? For something that a woman is kosher in, it sounds like all this list of people, the gambler, the person who races doves, etc., are yes kosher. Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi, Zoisai Meres, explains Rav Ashi that this is what the Mishnah means. Gazlan didivrayem ksheirli dis isha. What the Mishnah means to say is that if you have a gazlan, someone who steals midrabanan, he steals on a rabbanan level, he's allowed to give eidos with regarding an isha, meaning it doesn't mean that which a woman is allowed to say. Rather, what the Mishnah means to say is just like that he is allowed to give edus with regard to a woman for her to remarry, which we know we're always very lenient with regard to aguna. We don't want a woman to be chained to a husband who we don't know where he is, so they would be allowed to give edus with regarding such a situation. Says the Mishnah on a very interesting parak over here, concluding with a Mishnah without any Gemara. Says the Mishnah, Misharaz HaChaydesh. Someone sees the new moon, and he can't walk. He's not able to make it to Bezdin. They carry him, and Rashi explains. Even on a donkey. And what are we referring to? Shabbos, of course. We carry him. Even they'll carry them with their people on their shoulders in a bed. And if they're afraid that someone's gonna, attack them on the road, take sticks with you. Again, even though there's no Erev, even though it's Shabbos, in order to go testify, we're being very makel in order to make sure we get the new moon in the right time. Then take food for the journey. For a day and night journey, we're Mechal Shabbos. What's the reason? Basically because if it's more than a day or night, there's no reason to be Mechal Shabbos, because either way you're not going to make it there in time. Of course, we know there's a potential 29-day month if we're Makadosh day 30. If not, it's a 30-day month, and day 31 becomes Rosh Chodesh. So only if you can make it there in time within a day or night. More than that is pointless, because automatically the month will become Kaddish. And they go, and they go out to testify about the new moon. That you have to testify in their appropriate time, and therefore that's where the Mishnah comes up with this day of being Mechal Shabbos, like we saw a day or two ago. And not only can you be Mechal Shabbos, you could go on a donkey, you could take food with you could take arms with you, all the things in order to ensure that you get to Bezdin, so that the month becomes in the appropriate time. We should do a chazara, we should return, we should continue with vigor the same 21 blot that we just learned together. And Mir Hashem, for the rest of this Masechta, it's actually basically the halfway point in this Masechta. And Mir Hashem, as we have our eyes set already on Mayid, who would have thought we're so close? We should continue being able to learn together. Says the Mishnah as we begin the second parak, let's say someone comes to Sanhedrin, someone comes to Bezdin Agadol to testify about the new moon, and they don't know him. They don't know if you're a trustworthy person. What do? Mishalchen imoy acher. We send someone else with him to testify about his validity. We don't know Reuven, so we send with Reuven another Jew to testify that Reuven's a good guy. Lo yidoy testify about him. Barishayin in the beginning, originally they would accept Eidos HaChodesh from any person. When the Baisusim started messing up the process, as we'll see, and they only accepted Eidos from one they personally recognized. So the Mishnah has one simple theme that we have to testify. We have to know the validity of the person testifying. We don't want someone to lie. Originally they accepted everyone, then we are more particular. But the first part of the Mishnah taught us that if we don't know who that person is, we send someone else with him to verify to his validity as being an aid. My acher, says the Gemara, what did the Mishnah mean when it said we send another person with him? Chad, it sounds like we send one person with him. Again, if we don't know who Reuven is, we send another person to testify that Reuven is a good guy. Ask the Gemara the obvious kasha. V'chad mi mehemed, do we believe a singular person? What are you talking about? There was a story that says hu ve'edav, and two Eidim came to testify about the the person. So, because one person has no believability. So why would we send one aid with him? Amar Abba, my acher zog. What does it mean? Zog acher. It means another group. When Reuven comes to Bezdin, we don't know who Reuven is, they send a group with him, 2 people to testify about Reuven. And says the Gemara 3 lines down, this is indeed logical. Why? Because if you disagree with what we just said, and you don't learn that the word acher means a group, and what does it mean we don't recognize him? Meaning, the way we kept on playing out the case is we don't know Reuven. Reuven's come to give Eidos. We don't know Reuven, so we send the group with him. If you're going to tell me, I say Chad. Back to original question. How could it be that one person is going to give Eidos? One person has no believability. Mishpat Ksivbei. Elamai Oisai. What was the entire case in the Mishnah? Oisai Zog meant that group, Achinami my acher, zog acher. Says the Gemara, fascinating. When we learned the Mishnah, we said one person is going, we don't know who he is. Send someone else. Says the Gemara, what does that mean one person is going? It can't mean one person is going himself, because one person, mishmat, if one person has no believability, we need to aid him. So when the Mishnah spoke in the singular, it must have meant one group, 2 people. So too when we send to boost up his validity, we send a group with him. Absolutely beautiful. Says the Gemara 6 lines down. 1 second. Is it true what you're saying that one person does not believe? Tanya, we had a story. He himself went to give aid about someone. So what's going on? It sounds like Reb Norai is one person, and he went to give aid about someone the peasant didn't recognize. Answers the Gemara. Amri Reb Norai. Really, Reb Norai went with someone else. What do you mean? But the story said he went. It didn't mention anyone else. Why didn't we mention it? Why didn't we say Reb Norai went with someone else? Because of his honor. For his honor, it's inappropriate. You have the Gadol Reb Norai. You're going to mention another person was with him, but indeed there was. A second Torah, it says, the Gemara Rav Ashi Amar, Reb Norai Sadi Achrina Have. Really, Reb Norai, he was coming to confirm a different witness. There was already someone in Usha giving testimony about that person. Reb Norai came as the second person to boost that person's validity. But at the end of the day, what do we see? You always need 2 people to say Eidos. Ask the Gemara 1 second. What's the Chiddush? Meaning, if we have a court case, we have whatever's going on in Bezdin, and there's one person we don't know if he's believed, and we have one aid testifying him, and now we need another person. Of course, what's the chiddush on the Rav Norai? Answers the Gemara, it's a tremendous chiddush. You would think it's a suffix. We don't know 100% if you're going to be able to give eidos together, so therefore maybe we shouldn't let the second person come on his own to Bezdin. Kamash Malan, then indeed we let him come. We indeed let him come to confirm the aid even on Shabbos. It says the Gemara, a similar story. They made the new moon in the west in Eretz Yisrael. Not only is Ula believed, he's a great Ula. A simple person. My timer, call Misa Davidile Glule. Such an incredible rule. Anytime something could be revealed, we believe even one person, because it's not an eidos. He's not giving testimony in court. He's telling us about an event that happened, an event that everyone's going to find out on its own. So we know he's never going to lie. A person has such a believability because it's very easy to be proved wrong. And this is a rule always, that anytime someone says something that could quickly be shown not to be true, there is an emunus to that statement. Says the Gemara about 20 lines down. First one line is Bari Shaina. The Mishnah taught us that originally they accepted Eid as a Chiddush from any person, and then when the Baisusim got involved and started messing things up, they said we need someone who's believable. Tana Rabbanan says the Gemara, my kilkul kilkula Baisusim. What is the story? What did the Baisusim do? Says the Gemara, they wanted to mess up the Chachamim. They wanted them to mess up what days Rosh Chodesh. So what do these evil Baisusim do? They hire two people, they hire two people for 400 zos. Two different Eidim. One was a Baisusi, a not good guy, and one was a regular Jew. So their person, the Baisusi, came in and gave their testimony. V'yatani left. Shalanu, the regular Jew, comes in. Amr Loi, Amar, Kitzari, says Alvana. So he said to him, how did you see the new moon? Amar lahem. So this Jew responds, Oile hayisi b'mala. Again, now we're on the first wide line. It was going up a Mala Adumim, and I saw that it was crouching between two racks. Its head was similar to a calf. His ears were similar to a goat. His horns were like a deer. And his tail was sitting between its legs. And I looked at it, and I got shocked about this incredible sight that I saw, and I fell backwards. And this Jew says to Bezdin, and you don't believe this incredible story? Here, I have 200 zuz bundled in my coat to give to you. Meaning he basically said, I'm a false aid. This is all a ridiculous story. They said to him, who tried to hire you? Who wanted you to do such a terrible thing? I heard. I heard that the Baisus are trying to mess you guys, the Chachamim, up. Amarti. So I said to myself, I'm going to go and tell them, because maybe someone else who's not a good person, a different Baisus, is going to come for you to do his Chachamim, and he's going to mess up the Chachamim. So instead, I came to foil their plot. Amrullah, the Chachamim said to him, it's $200 keep b'matan as a present. V'askarcha yimatich alamod, and those who hired you will be stretched out on the pillar. Will give him malchus. V'isashad kinush le'makablin element amakirim. Because of this story, Bezdin said, "That's it. We're only accepting edus from someone we recognize." The fascinating story of the Baisusim. And we'll conclude today's share with the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah again more about to be mekadesh the new moon, and more particularly what happens after the mekadesh the new moon. Says the Mishnah. Originally, what would they do? They would light torches to tell everyone it's a new month. When the Kusim got involved, and they messed it up. So first we had the Baisusim, now we have the Kusim. Then they started saying, messengers go out and tell everyone it's Rosh Chodesh. How did they originally do this whole flat torch waving procedure? They would take poles of cedar wood, arukim that are very long, V'kanim and reeds, v'atei and balsim, wood, unares and flax, shalpishtan of combings of flax, v'kayrich b'mishcha, and they would bundle it all together on the top of this long string, a long pole with a string, v'aydel Rosh HaShanah, and they would go on top of a mountain, umatzitza b'hem, and they would light it up with fire. So these tremendous poles with different materials on the top tied together to light a torch, and they wave it back and forth, up and down, until they saw on the next mountain their friend Shuaisa came the same thing, on the top of the second mountain, on top of the third mountain. And from where do they do this? Which mountain tops? And the last place where built, they didn't stop waving. Ella, up and down, back and forth. Until they saw that the entire diaspora, the entire Bavel was lit up. Everyone was busy waving fires, in order that everyone knew it was Rosh Chodesh. That was the original process. But again, when the Kusim got involved, they stopped this process and rather they sent out Shluchim. We'll pick up from the Gemara Mir Tashem tomorrow.